Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today, we've got a fun video. At least, I think it'll be fun. Hopefully you do too. Today we're going to be talking about hard use or heavy duty work knives for everybody. As a lot of you know, I grew up on a cattle ranch. I spent a lot of time in the woods, hunting, camping, running around, being a general idiot. In the summers, I worked as a cowboy and fence builder. And so I've had a lot of experience, as an outdoorsman and, just on difficult jobs. I've had a lot of experience pushing knives to their limit. And so I think I've got a pretty good database to pull from for this video. You guys let me know in the comments below, but let's go ahead and start off this video. This knife here that we've got, this VV Riffle, is not on this list, but I want to bring it out to just kind of talk about the parameters of the knives today. This VV Riffle is a great knife, and absolutely can be used as a work knife, but I wouldn't call it a heavy-duty work knife. I love the Riffle. I think it's a great knife. 14C28N, one of my favorite steels. Definitely a knife that I use a lot and enjoy using and put to a lot of work, but I don't really consider it to be a heavy-duty work knife. It's just kind of thin, has, it's a little more, not delicate or fragile, but, it's not as sturdy as some of the knives that we're going to be seeing later. Great knife, and, work knife comes down to what your work is, right? I'm not going to tell anyone, well, that's not real work. Because half of the year I'm a college student, and so I prefer knives like this. But we're going to be talking about some more heavy-duty type stuff. So let's go ahead and jump in without any further ado. The first knife I want to talk about is a classic. It's the Rat 1, or really the Rat series as a whole. You can go with the 1 or the 2. We're going to have the 1 out here right now just because, I don't know, it's a big knife. Big equal hard youth. Great knife. Great knife. So many elements about this knife come together to make it a really solid work knife. And I would call it kind of an entry-level knife into the knife world as a whole. A lot of people have said that this is a very well-respected knife. Kind of, for a long time, the pocket knife that all others were compared against. Great ergonomics, great blade. If you're just starting out, I recommend the AUS 8 version. Stainless, sharpens up very easily in the field, and it's a good steel. It'll be fine for a hard use type of guy. If you know someone who uses their knives very hard and they go through 3 or 4 Ozark Trail knives a year, get them one of these. They'll probably really enjoy it. It'll last them a lot longer, and it's an easy-to-use knife. It's a liner lock. These things usually have pretty late lockup. Mine has wandered over time through use as well. 4-position pocket clip. Very easy to use. Great action. Running on washers. It's going to be a recurring theme of this video. But yeah, just a very solid work knife. Tough as nails. And there's a bunch of different versions to choose from. You can get the full size or the mini, get different colors. You can get different blade steels. In fact, they're coming out with an S35VN version, which pretty cool. But yeah, absolutely a great knife. All right, the next ones I want to talk about are, what if you want a knife that's very capable and very strong, but can also be just a regular EDC knife? Something that you can, if you're going to be at work in the morning or doing some grocery shopping and then you're going to be in the woods at night, something that you don't need to swap out of your pocket. For those types of applications, I'd go with something like the Benchmade Bug Out or my preferred choice, the Hogue Deca. But these kind of crossbar lock style of knives, you get a lot with this. Let's talk about it's the Able lock here, but it's a crossbar lock. They're all crossbar locks. Axis lock, crossbar, axis lock, Able lock, whatever. They're all crossbar locks. Very strong. You get a lot of strength out of these. They're, pretty easy to use. Both of these knives are still on washers, which is nice. But For such a, kind of small knife, you're packing a lot of strength into that. The Deca, especially with these G Mascus scales, good hand-filling grip, very comfortable. The Bug Out has a great outdoor and EDC blade shape, but we all know with the standard Bug Out, the plasticiness. But yeah, these are definitely knives that I've put through a lot out in the woods and just EDCing around. They work out very, very well. The Hogue Deca is my preferred choice over the Bug Out. You can get it in Magna Cut these days, which I would go with over the 20 CV steel. And, you can get all kinds of aftermarket scales. All kinds. Everyone makes aftermarket scales for the Deca. But, yeah, really, really good options. But what if you don't want to spend a whole lot of money? I mean, Benchmades, they can run you a pretty penny. They can get pretty expensive. The Hogues are typically more reasonably priced, but, they're still pricey knives. If you want something budget, there are options for you. One of the first ones we're going to be talking about is, if I can find remember where I set it down. I've got so many knives around here right now, guys. This is the Ganzo Firebird, I don't know, F750 in 440C steel. Good stuff. 440C is an absolutely fine steel. These are very affordable knives, and as you can see, they have the crossbar lock. This knife is very, very solid, very strong construction. And yeah, if you're just looking for a knife that you can just beat around all day, this is definitely a good one. You have a lot of strength from that lock, but you've got, just a lot of performance baked in everywhere. If that's even a little bit too rich for your blood, I'm going to bring up this knife because I love it. The Camillus Defy. This is a great option. These go for like 15, 20 bucks. Got kind of a rubbery scale with plastic inserts, very grippy, very comfortable in hand. Great hollow ground spear point, drop point blade, 420 steel, nothing fancy, but at this price point, what are you expecting? It does have a crossbar lock. This is the first knife on the list that's running on bearings, so it's got that, but still feels very solid. Definitely an affordable work knife. I've enjoyed using this a lot. A very, very cool knife. Definitely worth checking out. Okay, we're going to stick with budget stuff a little bit. I do want to mention a Civivi knife. This is a Civivi Praxis. This can kind of be in the same category of, EDC that can do harder tasks. Very, very nice knife here. We have a full flat grind, so you've got a stable, strong edge, but plenty of slicing power. Great ergonomics. It's very big. It can, handle some pretty intense stuff. 9CR steel, basically equivalent to that 440C we saw in the Ganzo earlier. Great stuff. If you haven't seen the video I made with my dad like 6 months ago about his EDC knife, definitely check that out. He carries a Civivi Backlash, also a 9CR. He's a veterinarian, and he has used that knife. He's a large animal mobile veterinarian, I should mention that. He's used that knife out in the field to do postmortems on dead sheep, calves, and things. And that knife has held up wonderfully. He is not kind to it, and it's still kicking, which to me is a testament to not only 9CR as a great blade steel, but a Civivi's build quality. Civivi knows how to build a knife that will last. So yeah, for not a whole lot of money, you can get something like this, and on a budget, it's really, really good. Okay, real quick, let's touch on frame locks, because I know a lot of people like frame locks. Frame locks are probably the most common knife lock out there, and so chances are you will end up purchasing a frame lock at some point. This is the Concept Hell X, and there's a lot about this knife that I really, really enjoy. The ergonomics are nice. We've got a couple of different grips. Back here is kind of a pistol grip. And move up here into this choil. That's very important for your finer detail stuff. The jimping is done incredibly well. Nice broad blade, very solid construction, very, very strong. Something that you get from a titanium frame lock is that feeling of solidity. The steel here is S35EN, which I love. That's a very good steel. It'll take a great edge. It'll hold that edge for a while. It's nice and stainless. And it's, you know, kind of one of the tougher super steels. It won't chip on you as easily. I love S35EN. However, I have had lock failures on this knife before. I was doing dumb stuff. You know, I was like chopping and batoning just to test it. Did have lock failures. So if you're going to get a frame lock, make sure it has good lock face geometry. This is my WE Knives Minax. I have done some pretty crazy stuff with this knife, and its lock has never failed. Very good geometry here. 20 CV blade, which, you know, not my favorite hard use steel, but it does hold a good edge. And a lot of times, if a company isn't hitting a rather hard HRC on their M390, you lose quite a bit of edge retention, but you do gain a little toughness. Yeah, it is what it is. I'd rather just have a different steel. But great stuff. Great stuff. I on the 20CV thing, I do like 20CV M390 as a steel, but not as like a work knife steel, just to be clear. But yeah, if you're going to get a frame lock, make sure it's good and solid. ZT has a track record of making pretty sturdy frame locks. Hinderer, of course, but you know, Chris Reeve, if you want to get real bougie. And what about in the budget category? Yeah, if you don't want to spend that much, budget frame locks have become very, very popular recently. This is the Syncut Tainan. This is not, I would not consider this a heavy-duty work knife. I'm just bringing it out as an example. But you have things coming out like the Civivi Synesis, which is absolutely more of a work knife design. A frame lock will give you more strength than a liner lock. So yeah, really, really cool there. My favorite budget frame lock, however, I don't have it with me right now, so sad, is the Kershaw Bare Knuckle. And it actually has the sub frame lock. Great knife, aluminum scales, so you cut down on the weight. 14C28N blade, one of my favorite work knife blades, and great shape. The sub frame lock's awesome. Just a really, really good knife all the way around. Definitely, definitely worth a recommendation. All right, you cannot have a video about heavy-duty knives without talking about fixed blades. Because, yeah, the hardest use knife you'll ever have is a fixed blade. This is my Cold Steel SRK. I love this knife. You guys know that. This has been my out-in-the-woods knife for a long, long time. You know, I knew a lot of old-timers growing up, and, you know, I still know them, who their philosophy with pocket knives was, this is all the pocket knife you ever need. If you're going to be doing something with your knife that this can't do, you grab a fixed blade. And there's a lot of merit to that philosophy. Honestly, there is. And if I had to only live with two knives for the rest of my life, I would probably go with a pairing like this, a simple slip joint and a fixed blade. Yeah, anything you may feel uncomfortable putting a folding knife through, a fixed blade will do it, no problem. This is a great knife here, $45. Very, very good. Fixed blades, obviously there's lots of different styles and things. There's lots of different options out there. Modularity for the sheaths. This is for the Gerber Strong Arm. Yeah, there's a lot of really good fixed blade options out there. And yes, I absolutely recommend carrying a fixed blade and a folder. That being said, there are some folders that I sometimes use as fixed blade stand-ins. Specifically this one, the Formax Scout. Yeah, we couldn't make a video about heavy-duty knives without talking about cold steel. The Formax Scout is an amazing knife. There are times when I will carry this instead of a fixed blade. One kind of niche case is sometimes when I'm building fence, I have to go up the sides of a mountain like that. Have to walk, you can't get a horse or buggy up there, and so I'm carrying a chainsaw, T-posts, extra fence stays, my wire, my hammer, all this different stuff. I've got a lot of things hanging off my belt. Sometimes I don't want to add a big knife to that, a fixed blade. So I'll have a folding knife. This can fold up. I can either stash it in my pocket or put it in my work pouch, and it works out great. But since we're on the topic of cold steel and stuff, let's bring out some knives that I think we should talk about all at once, and that is the Andrew Dimko designed cold steels. There's a lot of them, and they're all amazing. And one of the things that makes them amazing is a triad lock. This lock is as strong as they say it is. It's a beast. I have done stupid stuff with these knives, and that lock, I've never had a triad lock fail. The 4MAX Scout is a pretty intense knife. It's pretty big, so if you don't want to carry something this big, the 8010 does a lot of the same stuff just as well. Triad lock, S35VN on this one, or you can get an AUS 10, which, by the way, AUS 10 is a great steel. I have several videos testing cold steels AUS 10. I'll link them below. Great stuff. I'm a big fan of it. But yeah, the other thing about the 8010 and the Dimko designs as a whole that makes it an excellent work knife are the ergonomics. This is probably one of the most comfortable folding knives I've ever held. The way the scales are contoured, the width, everything is perfect. This thing was designed to be held, and it feels amazing. Really solid. If you're going to be working with a knife for an extended period of time, and especially pushing it through some pretty extreme tasks, you want to be comfortable in your hand with and without gloves. And that's definitely something you get from this. 8015, a lot of the same stuff. Wonderful S35VN blade, great drop point shape. This is a fantastic work knife shape. The thing about this, though, is not only is the lock strong on its own, this Scorpion lock. Let's do that again. There we go. But when you're gripping the knife, the harder you grip it, the more that lock engages. And so if you're really bearing down to something, there's no chance of this knife unlocking, which is pretty cool. But yeah, again, great knife, great ergos, everything like that. And if you're looking for a heavy-duty knife in general, cold steel is a great place to start. I have a bunch of cold steel knives. I can't bring them all out. I can't mention them all. But through a vast range of budgets, they have things that you'll like. And they put their triad lock on a lot of stuff. So you can buy a $20 cold steel and still get the strength and durability of their triad lock. It's really cool. Love cold steel. Absolutely recommendable. Bring out the Engage. This is one of their new knives with their Atlas lock. Yeah, they're doing a lot of cool stuff. Washer pivots. Just very solid designs. Okay, so what if you want a heavy duty knife, kind of like a cold steel? You want it to be a back lock, but you know, maybe you don't want to spend all that money on an 8010. I'm gonna bring out kind of a surprising knife. This is the Camillus Bushcrafter. This knife really blew me away. It's a very interesting knife. 12C27 burlap micarta. Very comfortable in your hand. It is a back lock, tail lock in this case, which it might be a little bit of a negative. Fully ambi, like a lot of those cold steels. But very good knife, especially for the price. These are pretty inexpensive. I've done a lot of testing with this, and it has not failed. So yeah, definitely a hard use type of knife. Okay, so what if you're looking for a very durable, heavy-duty knife, but you live in an area with some dumb knife laws? Yeah, it happens, you know, it's a shame, but there are dumb laws out there. Well, I've got a couple suggestions for you. Number one, if the restrictions are around blade length, let's say you can't carry anything over 3 inches, the Cold Steel Micro Engage, as I call it. This is a 2.5 inch Engage. This is such a neat little knife. These are pretty affordable, 4116 steel, like polymer, plasticky handles. They do give you that Atlas lock we looked at earlier. Great action. You can front flip it if you want to. So very fun, very fidgety, but a lot of strength. And it's a sub 3-inch blade. Great ergos for such a small knife. Put your thumb up in that poon spoon, choke up over there. And this is a very solid knife. I love this knife. You guys have seen it on the channel a bunch. You do drilling, you get to your utility cuts, do some slices. Very, very capable tool in really a tiny little package. Like most cold steels, it's also fully ambidextrous, so that's really, really cool. Now, if you want something that maybe has an upgraded blade steel, the Baby Banter is a really cool knife. I wouldn't necessarily say it's as durable as the Micro Engage, but it is a very solid user knife. Nitro V steel, so it's going to be tougher. It is an upgrade over the 4116. Not my favorite steel, but it is an upgrade. G10 scales. Again, you can get a full grip, even though this is a really tiny knife. This is one of my favorite Civivis. I love it. Very, very cool knife. So yeah, you can think of that one. Again, not as durable as the Micro Engage, but maybe a little more premium feeling. What if your restrictions don't have to do with blade length? What if you can't carry a locking knife? Well, never fear, I've got a recommendation for you. This is one of my favorite slip joints, the Rough Rider Reserve Swell Center Whittler. You can still get these. They make different runs of these. Smoky Mountain Knife Works is a good place to go for these. I love a lot about this knife. So, great walk and talk. It is a slip joint. So, you got that legal mishap covered. Seriously, banning locking knives is such a dumb thing. It's like banning helmets on a construction site. But one of the reasons I've decided to recommend this one, because there's a lot of slip joints out there that, are pretty heavy duty, but one reason I like this one, it looks clean and classy, non-threatening, but even though it's a slip joint, if you see this area here, you can get your finger there and your thumb there, and the blade won't close on you. It won't close. Plus, it's pretty sturdy walk and talk, as we mentioned already. Locks up against double back springs. This is absolutely good to go. Nice, big spear point blade, D2 steel, pretty chunky. You'll be able to get a lot of work done with that. And, maybe you don't need all the durability of the big, main, robust blade. You have two other blades that give you options for finer tasks. Got this little Warncliffe. They are also all D2. And you have this pin knife. So yeah, really, really great, classy non-locking recommendation. And of course, there are also non-locking knives like friction folders or knives that technically don't have a lock, but you can put a pin in. Those are all great options as well if you find one that you really like. Okay, let's talk a little bit about tactical type stuff. I don't proclaim to be a tactical master, but I do know that a lot of people out there want a tactical knife, and it has to be solid and durable. So my pick is the Spyderco PM2 Tonto. And I know you can't get these all the time, and maybe I shouldn't have put this on the list, but I love this knife. I use this knife a lot. It's my favorite work Spyderco, especially when we compare it to my other PM2. This is my S110V version. I use this knife a lot for breaking down cardboard and stuff, but I do not take this out in the woods with me. I do not take this. I don't really use this for anything heavy duty because S110V coupled with that incredibly narrow tip, we're just asking for issues, right? S110V is very hard, very brittle. Holds an edge like a champ, but yeah, not very tough. The S30V on this knife is a lot tougher, plus the blade is just much more robust and ready to go. Ergonomics are fantastic. You really get locked into this. You can choke up. Yeah, I absolutely love this knife. Focus up there, camera. Absolutely love this knife. Compression lock, 4-way reversible clip. Great, great knife. But yes, they are expensive, and you know, you can't always find the Tonto versions. There are other Spydercos, but I want to offer a more budget. I wouldn't say this is necessarily in the tactical vein, but it's a really cool knife. The Spyderco Tenacious series. This is the Resilience here. This is the big boy. These are nice. They are affordable. 8CR steel on them. You know, it's a fine, simple steel. At the price they're asking, it's a little bit less fine, but these knives are built very, very well, and they are absolutely solid. I would recommend these as a work knife for anyone, any day. Really, really good, thick liner locks, 4-way reversible pocket clips as well, running on washers again. And the action is pretty great. So yeah, Resilient series, can't go wrong. Okay, before we show my grand finisher, I want to just show off a couple of random knives real quick. Starting with the CGRB Feldspar. Love this knife. I would definitely consider this to be a good work knife. Very, very comfortable in hand, great blade shape. Is on bearings, and I have had a couple of issues with them gumming up, but I mean, this design is just so good. It had to be mentioned. And we're going to stick with the CGRB theme for a little bit. CGRB Crag. I love this knife. This is a fantastic work knife. Great ergonomics, great lock. I would not recommend the carbon fiber version. It's kind of slippery. Get like one of the G10 versions. But yeah, very strong lock, very good ergonomics, really great robust blade, nice and slicey but still durable. D2, you can get these in AR RPM 9. You can also get them as a liner lock if you really want, but cool knife. And then the QSP Penguin. Very, very nice little work knife. Runs on washers, liner lock. You can get these in all kinds of different blade shapes, or not blade shapes, blade steels. This one's D2, sheep's foot, you know, kind of the classic. I've taken these out in the woods. You know, I've used these as just regular EDC knives. Yeah, they are always great. Very durable. Yeah, kind of, for me at least, if I'm out in the woods, I don't really find a whole lot of use for a straight edge like this, but, you know, as a companion knife, it works out pretty good most of the time. Alrighty, let's finish up this list. And this list was not ranked. None of the list videos I make are ranked. These are just showing off a buttload of knives. But I wanted to mention, I want to mention the 80 20.5s. These are becoming much more available these days, and I think that's great. These are really, really cool knives. The shark lock is awesome. Very good ergonomics, good blades. These come in a bunch of steels these days. Still, the two blade shapes are the shark's foot and the clip point. I do have a full serrated version here. These are really cool knives. I am looking into getting scales to upgrade mine. I'm also looking into getting some more versions because I really do want to test out some more of these and use them a lot more. So yeah, if you want to get those, they're really good. Or if you're really bougie and fancy and feel like you're special, the most expensive knife on the list, most expensive knife ever featured on this channel. This is the 8020S. So this is the big boy. This is the full-size brother. Yeah. This is one of the greatest work knives I have ever used, reviewed, handled. The ergonomics are perfect. The action is perfect. Strong lock. Everything you want. Great blade. Man, this blade is so good for So good for so many things. This knife is one of the most perfect knives I've ever reviewed. And if you're really serious about getting a very tough, very usable knife, this is definitely worth the money, 100%. But that's going to be it for today's video. Tell me what you guys thought in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I've been Gideon. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.